Hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you today. My name is Nikita Sanella, and I am a policy analyst on social and economic affairs here at FEPS. And I'll be moderating today's session. So thank you so much for joining us for this first FEPS Breakfast policy series, The Employment We Want. And I want to say hello as well to those of you who are watching us from the live stream and YouTube. So in this series, we will be gathering European experts and policymakers to present policy solutions to some of the most pressing issues in the labor market. And today's session will specifically focus on the potential for an EU initiative for zero unemployment territories. We know that unemployment is a significant challenge across the EU, where nearly 13.5 million people of working age cannot find work. And of course, COVID-19 and the current cost of living crisis have certainly not been helping the situation. And we also know that the disruptions brought on by the digital and green transitions are also already having and will continue to have an impact on work and employment. So in this quite challenging context, what can the EU do to stimulate job creation and help reduce unemployment? So in this meeting, we want to present and discuss the role that an EU zero unemployment initiative could play in tackling unemployment. And we have three speakers with us today to discuss this idea. So we have Aurore Lalucq, an economist and member of the European Parliament. We have Lukas Lehner, who is a PhD researcher from the University of Oxford. And we have Yonnec Polet, who is the Deputy Secretary General of the PES and a member of the Committee of Regions. So as they present, I really want to encourage our participants to share your questions and your reactions in the chat and the Q&A function on Zoom, as we will have time, hopefully, to answer some of these at the end of the presentations. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first speaker, Aurore Lalucq, who actually, together with Bard College economist Pavlina Cherneva, has written a proposal on what an EU job guarantee might look like. And this policy brief is actually being launched by us today, right now. I can't really see it, but it's you can find it on our website and social media. So Aurore, you have the floor to tell us a little bit more about this proposal.
Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, everyone. I'm very happy to be here for this first FEPS breakfast. I see this is a very good idea, by the way, very short time talking of idea. So I'm very happy. And I wanted to thank you for all the help with the elaboration and the publication of this policy brief. So thank you so much to the FEPS. Very happy to discuss it with Lukas and also with Yonnec. Very happy that the Party of the European Socialists is here with us also today. When we talk about job, unemployment, work, those last couple of months, there is always a word that is coming back in the discussion, which is the big quit. And I think that, this is the idea that people are quitting their job because they want higher wages, better working condition, and some meaningful jobs, and perhaps they also want just some time off. And I think this is this is an interesting movement for us, but I think also we need to keep in mind that it is specific to the US, that it is also happening in Europe, but we are also facing a rise of people who are getting fired. That's the first point. The second point is that this whole big quit movement shouldn't hide the fact that as Nikita said, we have a very high level of unemployment in Europe, but also people who are at risk to fall into poverty. I mean, this is a very French way to say it, but to get poor and to be excluded. So, and I think that the main trouble, in fact, is that we think this is something normal in Europe, that unemployment is kind of fatality. This is something we need to deal with. It's part of life. And we need to have in mind that the natural rate of unemployment does not exist. It does not exist, not only because we are progressist, just it does not exist. And I think we need to get rid of this idea. And as my friend and mentor, James Galbraith, always say, if you want to create jobs, create them. You can create some jobs whenever you want. And also we need to have in mind that all these supply side policies that we experimented for 40 years, I mean, they're not working at all, because we are still talking about unemployment. So this is, I think, a sign to say that we need to find another way to create jobs. That's the first point. The second point is, I think we experimented also this summer climate change. I think we understood that climate change is not something that's going to happen in some years, and maybe at the end of the day it's going to be sunny in Brussels and could have something good in the climate change. I think we all understood that it's happening right now, and it's not really cool that we are living in a very hot world with water scarcities, fire and everywhere, and we need to do something about it. And this is why we think that the job guarantee with Pavlina Tcherneva can, and a European job guarantee can tackle unemployment on one side, but also could help to mitigate climate change, because I mean, climate change is going to happen at the end of the day. And I always use the example of biodiversity. When it comes to biodiversity, you can notice that biodiversity is not being taken care of nor by the private sector, nor by the public sector. No one is taking care of the biodiversity. And we need to do it. That's the first point. And the second point is, you don't have to have a lot of money to invest in biodiversity, because you don't need capital, manufacture capital of this kind of stuff. You just need a lot of workers to clean up the soil, to plant trees, and to do this kind of stuff. And this is why the idea of climate change and of ecological transition is at the very core of our proposal with Pavlina, of our proposal of job guarantee. But I think we also need to have in mind that the job guarantee does not only rely on the ecological dimension. It's about meeting all the unmet needs of our society. And there are a lot of unmet needs, and a lot of unmet needs are not profitable enough to be taken care of, to be fulfilled by the private sector of the market. And we need to fill these unmet needs. The third point will be, how much does it cost? I mean, we need to fund some social policies because of the war, because of the inflation. So do we have enough money to create a European job guarantee scheme? And I think that the good news is yes, we have. And the second point is, we need also to keep in mind that it costs a lot of money to be unemployed. And unemployment is costing a lot of money. Very basically because, first, you need to give money to people who are unemployed. Second, because, well, these people, they are going to consume less, they are going to have a bad health, and it will create some cost. And also because, and I hate to use this kind of wording, but I'm going to do it anyway, it is destroying our human capital. I mean, when people who are unemployed, they have a very bad health, they have some mental problems, some physical problem, and they won't be, we notice that their children, sometimes they are experimenting a very poor education. So this is not good at all for the society. And just one example and an illustration of the cost of unemployment and the non-cost of job guarantee is that in France, as you know, we have an experimentation called Zero Long-Term Unemployment Initiative that was launched and based on a very simple idea that nobody is unemployable, that everyone got some skills, which is true, by the way. And this is a very good idea, I think, to put it this way. And this is a duty of our society to create those some jobs. And this experimentation just also prove that job guarantee doesn't cost a lot of money. I mean, in France, someone who is unemployed cost to the society something like 18,000 euro. Well, we just took this money and we use it to hire some people. And it worked. It worked very well, actually. So we have this French initiative, but we also have some initiative in Austria, Greece, US, and Brussels, as you know. And we always witness the same thing, that it's very good for people who are getting hired by this kind of initiative, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. And this is why we're seeking with Pavlina to implement this kind of initiative at the European level. So I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, when you think at the European level, you're like, okay, we're going to face a lot of problem, institutional problem, but also it's always the same when you talk about Europe, can we do it? I think we will be able to do it, but a good start will be that the European institution could fund this kind of initiative at the local level across Europe. And it will be a European job guarantee scheme that will be very bottom up, very close to people, and also very close to the needs people are facing at the local level and in the territories. So to sum up, I think that it could be very useful for all these reasons: climate change, but also inflation, because there is still some unemployment, and that job policy we experimented this last years just they're not working because people are poor also. And I think we also need to implement it at the European level, because some jobs are going to be destroyed. I mean, people are going to lose job, especially in Poland, for instance, because of the ecological transition. And so we need also to create some alternative. And to conclude, when we wrote this policy brief, I mean, the war was here. And we knew at that day that this winter will be quite difficult, but we didn't have in mind that it will be so difficult and that some people will lose their job. I mean, there is a big quit movement, but this winter and next year are going to be very, very tough for people. And so I think we need also to show some solidarity, and that the European job guarantee scheme could be very useful in this purpose. So thank you so much, and I'd be very happy to hear all of you.
Thank you so much, Aurore. I think it's first of all, thank you for reminding us how pressing responding to this challenge is, especially in today's context with, as you rightly mentioned, the cost of living crisis. And the challenges that workers are facing today. I think what's really interesting about what you've kind of proposed is, I think, first of all, the idea that unemployment shouldn't be considered a given in our societies, or it doesn't have to work like this, essentially. And also the fact that the job guarantee, zero unemployment initiative could really tackle some of the key pressing issues that we are facing right now in terms of, as you mentioned, climate change, but also gaps in care and so on. And lastly, that to remember that the cost of unemployment is also very high. So there's kind of a strong incentive there that, you know, unemployment does have a cost for society in many ways, not just economic. Now that you've heard this proposal from Aurore, I think it's really important to consider this, the concept, how it can be applied in practice. And so with that, I want to give the floor to Lukas. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Nikita. And Aurore outlined very important arguments for a job guarantee in Europe at the European level, and there are more of them in detail in the policy proposal written together with Pavlina Geneva. So what we know about is a lot about potential macroeconomic consequences of a job guarantee with scenarios and cost calculations. What so far there has been less established was the evidence of really the causal effects on individuals and potential spillovers on the labor market if a job guarantee scheme would be implemented. Questions around, does it really help individuals? In what aspect does it help and affect individuals? And very often mentioned concerns, what about displacement effects of other jobs? So our idea was, let's evaluate it with a rigorous experimentative design. And that's what was implemented in Austria as part of the Marienthal job guarantee, which is a program run by the Public Employment Service. And we in Oxford are evaluating it over the course of 4 years. So the basic, and I will be telling you about it now. So the basic idea of a job guarantee, as outlined, is simple. The right to work is guaranteed universally to everyone. What is it about? Every person who's unemployed in Marienthal, in the town where the experiment takes place, for 1 year or longer, and therefore considered long-term unemployed, is offered a job under the job guarantee scheme. And the guarantee aspect is really crucial. So it applies not only to those who are currently unemployed for 1 year and longer, but also to those who become long-term unemployed in the next few years. And also those regardless of age, migration background, and other characteristics. So really to everyone as a guarantee. The job is being offered either via replacement in a vacant job in that region that is subsidized from the Public Employment Service, or via a newly created social enterprise in the community. And despite the generous wage subsidy that is provided, the majority of people who are eligible for a job under this job guarantee were not offered a job via third-party employers, and therefore received a job offer from the newly created social enterprise in the community and non-profit sector. And the program details are as following. So the program started in October 2020, runs until April 2024, and is operated by the Public Employment Service. It is budgeted with 7.5 million euros, and it includes a preparatory training for up to 8 weeks. And as I said before, everyone who's unemployed for 12 months or longer is eligible and therefore receives a job offer that is entirely voluntary. That is crucial. So there we need to be, I think, very crucial about distinguishing a job guarantee from anything that goes towards forced labor. So there is no effect on people's benefits, whether they would accept the job offer or whether they would decline it. So it's just an additional option that is provided. Second characteristic is that if people accept the job, people receive decent pay that is guaranteed under a collectively bargained minimum wage. So, and that means people are employed with a regular employment contract, pay taxes, social security contributions, and also receive all the rights that go along with it in our welfare states. And there, a job guarantee scheme is to be distinguished, crucially, from any workfare regime that exists in several also European countries, where unemployed have to work to continue receiving benefits, to do some kind of community service, which is very different than a job guarantee scheme where people are offered a real job. So we had two important characteristics already of the experiment and the pilots in Austria. It's entirely voluntary, it's with decent pay. And the third important aspect is that there is a lot of emphasis on creating meaningful jobs. Meaningful, what does it mean? Meaningful for eligible participants themselves. So that means the jobs are tailored to their skills, to their means and capabilities to help them contribute. But also the jobs are really focused on having a meaningful impact socially or even ecologically to the community and to society. So the jobs created under the scheme range from daily social support of elderly in the community, renovation works in the community, establishing a carpentry, renovating a museum, working on a book project, helping out in the local kindergarten and elementary school with lots of potential benefits for the community. And that is again important because the way everyone else perceives the job guarantee has, of course, effects on how those people working under the job guarantee perceive their jobs, whether they perceive it as very valuable and meaningful work and not just another social program. And I should say the town where this pilot takes place, Marienthal, is not selected randomly. It is a town that became famous almost a century ago with one of the groundbreaking studies of empirical social research, where Marie Jahoder, Paul Lazarsfeld, and Hans Zeisel studied the effects of mass unemployment under the Great Depression of the 1930s and the social psychological consequences. And so what we are doing is we return to this community, which is in a former so-called Rust Belt area close to Vienna, and provide employment to formerly unemployed to study the opposite effects. What happens when you provide unemployed? And we do this with a rigorous design. So we evaluate the program with a randomized control trial where people are randomly assigned to the starting date of their eligibility. So there is a staggered rollout to evaluate the causal effects on individual participants. But also we evaluate the potential spillovers on the labor market. How are other workers and other short-term unemployed affected that are not participating by this guarantee scheme? Does it have positive or negative implication on them? Does it have any implications on the wider labor market? To evaluate potential concerns about spillovers. And so the program started already 2.5 years ago. And what do we find so far? We find first that literally everyone offered a job, despite its voluntary nature, has accepted it. That's been really surprising to us, that literally everyone who got the job offer did accept it and did not decline it without that they would face any negative consequences. Of course, some people that we have in our study sample could not even receive the job offer because we have to keep in mind that long-term unemployed are to some extent a very vulnerable population. So some of them, since we started tracking them, already even passed away, went into incarceration, became incapacitated. So that is a very vulnerable population. But everyone who received the job offer also accepted it. And then what are the effects of being eligible and having received a job offer under the job guarantee scheme? So what we find is that there are large positive effects on economic and social well-being. So large positive effects on economic well-being, I mean, on income security, on employment. But there are also large effects on a number of measures of social well-being, including how people structure their day, their social inclusion, their social status, their life satisfaction, their activity in the day, their collective purpose and social contacts in life. And interestingly, the measures that date back on Marie Jahoder, who was involved in the original Marienthal study almost a century ago, the measures that date back on her, the so-called latent benefits of employment, show the most movement. And there is a long tradition of research in social psychology on these measures. So that really surprised us, that people really changed their social inclusion, status, activity, time structure, and collective purpose by being eligible to a job guarantee again and to a job. Second, there is a large reduction of municipality level unemployment due to the program. So that means that the jobs did not simply displace other jobs and other people, but it led to a near elimination of long-term unemployment in the municipality, which is not mechanical, considering the voluntary nature of the program. And the effect of total unemployment is a large reduction again. So that also means that there was no displacement by a strong rise in short-term unemployment relative to all the other towns that we compare to the town where the treatment takes place with our synthetic control comparison that is also pre-registered with the American Economic Association. We also find anticipation effects on some social indicators. So that means that individuals before starting the program already feel better just with the prospect of receiving a job offer in their life satisfaction, social status, social inclusion in the community. And we find that the effects are largely persistent in the subsequent years as the program continues thus far. Now, we will publish our results in a couple of weeks this fall, and there will be all the details on it included. And with that, I want to close by saying that essentially there are some people who cannot find a job, no matter which public training program they are reassigned to. So the idea behind the job guarantee as we piloted in Austria is, why should those individuals be tortured by some program, as many unemployed perceive it, as we know from other studies, when they can be given a better life at no extra cost, the way the program is budgeted, and can even make a positive and social, potentially even ecological contribution. And if stalemate at the European level continues in politics, scientific experimentation with such programs can actually point the way forward. And that's how Aurore mentioned the experimentation going on in France, that is very important, and other countries. And Dominic Afsharian and co-authors who are present in the webinar, as I've seen, also just published a piece on how experimentation can be a way forward of social programs, including a job guarantee. So politicians and policymakers may easier commit to the experimentation of innovative social programs, such as a job guarantee, when they're rigorously evaluated, as the example in Austria shows. And with this, I'd like to hand over to Yvonne.
Okay, thank you so much, Yonnec. Sorry, I'm getting all my speakers mixed up. Lukas. I think one of the key things, key takeaways for me from what you've just presented is also the fact that I think when people hear the idea of a job guarantee, the immediate assumption is that the state is the one, becomes the employer. So I think it's really interesting to hear about this pilot project and the way that actually the employer became, were social enterprises and kind of also corresponding to some existing positions in the labor market. And also really interesting to hear the way that the jobs were adapted to the needs and as well as the skills of individuals, and the positive kind of impact that had in terms of people also seeing that work as meaningful and having a positive social impact beyond the economic as well. And also, I mean, given that both Lukas and Aurore mentioned kind of the municipal and local level, I now kind of want to give the floor to Yonnec, Polet, because Could you tell us a little bit more about kind of the perspective of the kind of the regional and local perspective? What are your thoughts on this zero unemployment initiative?
Well, hello everybody. Thanks a lot, Nikita. I would like first to thank FEPS for the invitation and congratulations to you for this very good initiative on employment policy breakfast. Also congratulating Aurore for the very good job done on the job guarantee and the promotion of the concept, and thank you, Lukas, for your intro too, and I'd be very glad to be in touch with you later on to get all the good experiment and knowledge that you have from this Austrian experience. So I'll be very interested, and thanks also for your in-depth presentation. I feel like I don't have very much to say now, but nevertheless, I'll try to give some input now. Thank you, Nikita, again. So I am Deputy Secretary General of the PS, which is a European perspective, but I have also two other hats. One is that I'm a Deputy Mayor of a district in Brussels, which I will present now, is implementing the Térritoires Zéro Chômeur de Longue Durée. It's in Berchem-Saint-Agathe in Brussels. And third, my third hat is I'm also a member, because of my first, being Deputy Mayor, I'm also a member of the Committee of the Region, which, as you may know, is the kind of European Parliament for locally elected officials and regional officials. So what I would like to say is that first, I am really, like I guess all of us here around this screen, totally convinced by the zero unemployment territories concept and initiative. Totally convinced. For my district, but also for the other district where I've done some visits, and also after Lukas' explanation. Among the elements that are very important to mention, I really would like to emphasize a few points. Many have been said already, but what I would like to emphasize. One is that for a very long time, unemployment has been described as a personal responsibility. Here, we change the logic and the paradigm, and we say it's a collective responsibility. And we engage the society to change that paradigm. And I think that this project is showing it in a wonderful way. Second, it's start from also another starting point is that nobody is a very ugly word, but is unemployable. Everybody in society can have an impact and play a role on the workforce in the labor market. No one should be kept aside the labor market. I think that it's also very valuable. Third, there is, and that's an analysis that has been said, unemployment is a cost. So we transfer that cost into something meaningful and with a social background or purpose. So and then everything that has been said, but that are very important. It could be urban, but it could also be rural. That's also very important. It's not only for cities, even if I'm from a city, but it could be also elsewhere. It's very important that it's based on decent wage. Very important that to have that in mind. People are not working below labor standards and below proper salaries. And that would be my last very important point to mention. It's on a voluntary basis. All people there are employed on a voluntary basis, and it's based on it's a long process to put one of these initiatives in place. It's a very long process because you need to assess what are the willingness of the people, what are the competence, where they are good at, and where they really would like to play a role in their community. Maybe the very final point is that And that's why it's very important. And I really would like to congratulate the founders of this concept in France, ADT Carmonde et Laurent Grand-Guillaume now. And I would like to come back later on a bit of on the history for the way that they elaborate that concept, is that it's answer to social needs. So to the one of you that do not have all the details, you create a social economy enterprise, and you have with that social economy enterprise people that are working to answer social needs in the community. So it's with an economic purpose, you sell and buy services, but these are services that are not yet covered in the community. That's very important because you don't enter in competition with the companies, the existing companies in your district or in your community. You go and you fulfill something where there is a vacuum, but there is a need. And like Lukas explained, the spectrum is very, very, very large. It could be circular economy, it could be social needs, could be the elderly people, and so on and so on. But really, you fulfill something. And I can tell you that the impact on the community is immense. It's huge. What is functioning best so far, I would say, is the French example. And thank you, and hello. I saw that Jeanne is there from the organization in France. It's about 50 territories now. It's almost 2,000 people. And in the community, when you put 10, 20, 50, 100 people back to work, it has a social impact that is immense. Really, it goes beyond the personal satisfaction. It's really transformed the society. So for all these reasons, I think that if you are not convinced yet, I hope that now you are. I mean, people participating about this. So because it's really something that is really great. So now about my district, about Brussels experience, I would say that Brussels and Térritoires Zéro Chômeur de Longue Durée goes back in time, actually, because it started already in 2016 when after the law was voted in France, we organized with the PS Brussels a visit to Paris. It was with Laurette Onkelings. Some of you may know her. She was Deputy Prime Minister. And then at that time, very important also, the Director General of the Brussels Administration on Employment, Actiris. So it was with Grégoire Chapelle, a visit to Paris. And then after that, 2018, we prepared the program for the regional election. 2019, we won. And then it was part of the regional government program. And then 2020 and so on, it was implemented in Brussels. 3 districts in Brussels are pilot project. And in the Wallonian region, same things, PS in power. And so in Wallonian region, you have more than 20 pilot projects that will be developed. So that's to say that clearly there must be a political will in there in order to move on with this project. At the EU level, the Party of European Socialists, another hat where I'm working, is now also working on the initiative. We will have very soon what we call the Social Europe network of the PES. There will be a discussion. Laurent Grand-Guillaume is involved, and you are welcome to attend and to participate. And then lastly, as the committee of the region, Laurent Grand-Guillaume has been already invited once to the SEDEC committee with the committee in the committee of the region that is dealing with an employment matter. And I hope that in the future an initiative report could be presented, and hopefully I'll be able to carry that report in the committee to again enlarge the publicity and the support for that one. My very last point, is about the implementation, because I see that in Austria, you had a big budget and you had a big support, and that it was easy to implement. I would say that in France, it was perfectly designed to make sure that the social enterprise have the proper state funding, and in parallel, department or region or local or local funding. Because the key to start is the funding. Because you need to be able to have that funding diverted from the social and employment benefit cost or expenditure to the company. And that's where the problem is. And I can tell you out of experience, because in Brussels, despite the fact that we have these 3 pilot projects, we have not been yet able to start really with the hiring of people and the experience on the ground. Because of the financing, because of some political issues, not as you can imagine with my parties, with other parties. And so if there is one thing that is to be developed and thought at the EU level, is to see what kind of support could be developed at the EU level to lift the obstacle at the local level. Because I'm sure that at the local level, you will see many cities that would be willing to engage in such a process. So in Wallonia, they've been able to have support from the social fund, and we have to make sure, the European Social Fund, that we have to make sure that other cities will be able to get this support in order to move forwards with that initiative. That thing is a really great initiative, because it's touching a big issue, and that I've not said, and I really would like to emphasize that, because in the title, the translation in English is Zero Unemployment Territories. In French, there is also the adjective long term. Most of the people that are I would say targeted are the people that are long term in unemployment. And you know, in a community, in a society, how disastrous it can be. And that's why I think that this project is so great again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very passionate, advocacy for this initiative. I think you rightly point out kind of, I think there's the fact that, cities, local employment services are really at the forefront of supporting unemployed people. And I think that if we are going to talk about an initiative like this at the EU level, then it's really important to talk about kind of what the governance would look like with cities and local actors being part of that discussion. Well, we are unfortunately running out of time, but there is one thing that I really wanted to cover as well is we know that young people are the age group that has the highest unemployment rate in the EU. It's more than double that of the general population. And at the EU level, there is already an initiative established to deal with this, the EU Youth Guarantee. But there have been some criticisms by youth organizations and trade unions that an initiative, well, the Youth Guarantee itself has at times offered opportunities that are short-term or low or unpaid. So essentially not really quality opportunities. How do you think that this initiative can be different, can support young people into quality employment as a key group in need of support, let's say? Aurore, Lukas, I look to you.
So first, thank you, and thank you to Luca I think we all want to read your paper when it will be published. And thank you also for the conclusion when you say you don't need to harm people to create some jobs. And I think this is very true. Thank you also to Yonnec. I will. It's very a pity that we don't have much time because I have some questions too, but I will come back to you later, Yonnec. Yeah, I think this is different also because first we need to target young people. Second point is young people, some of that, not all of them, let's be clear, they are looking for meaningful job also, and they're very stressed because of the climate change, and I think they are right, by the way. Also, the idea of a job guarantee is to make sure that people, they have a decent wage, not a low wage. And the idea is also to create some good conditions. So this is a little bit different, and also it can be long-term job. So this is why So this is why, very, very briefly, why it could be different.
Lukas, would you like to?
Great. Just to add briefly to Aurore, which I agree with, is that for young people, but also for unemployed in general, it's been a long-established consensus among policymakers, among economists, that it needs two support policies in general: a trampoline and a safety net. The trampoline generally are active labor market policies, the social safety net, social benefits. But too often over the last decades, politics has focused primarily on the active part, on the trampoline, and less so on the social safety net. The job guarantee now can be a policy to rebalance the mix of both, also comprising of both, a chance for active engagement and a decent income. And that means also that the three characteristics that I outlined are central. That is, that the jobs need to be properly paid, they need to be voluntary, and they need to correspond to the abilities of the people involved, not to be bullshit jobs, but to provide meaningful work. And that is in particular important for young people, but also for unemployed in general. And with this, I'd like to echo the quote of the historic Marienthal study to close my contribution, that we as researchers have entered the soil of Marienthal with many unemployed, but we've left it with one wish taken away from it, that the tragic chance of such experimentation does not longer exist. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Lukas. Well, we are kind of going over time, but I think that there's still one pressing question that we need to answer before we close. And I say that this is a pressing question because I know that this is the first question that people will ask, and you've all tried to cover it a little bit, and that is the question of costs. So we've heard that unemployment has enormous costs, which essentially justify the need for this type of initiative. We've heard that it is it's not actually that expensive. But I wanted to hear from Aurore. I mean, you mentioned it in the paper, so I really encourage people to read it. But how do you concretely propose for the EU to fund such an initiative were it to be established?
I mean, what is quite strange, actually, those last couple of years is that finding some European fund is not the main problem that we are facing. The problems we are facing in Europe, I think, are more ideological on one hand, but also because of the institutional scheme. So I think that just like we had the sure mechanism, as you can remember during the crisis, to make sure that we can fund the system of the member state of unemployment, I think typically this is we can use this kind of mechanism, but also some other directive that try to encourage social economy, what we call socio economy, on the meaning all the economy that it's dealing with a mutual, cooperative, and this kind of stuff. The idea will be to use this kind of fund to fund the job guarantee at the local level, for the reason that Yonnec perfectly explained, actually, because this is some community initiative. This is a bottom-up process, and people at the local level know what they need. So this is why we think we could use it this way, and that actually there is also some fund we can use at the European level.
Okay, thank you so much, Aurore. And with that, since we are quite over time, I will close there. I really want to thank our three speakers today for their inputs. I think or I hope that the key takeaway here is, as was mentioned in different ways by everyone, is that unemployment is not a personal responsibility. It is a collective responsibility for which we need to collectively find solutions. And I also want to thank our participants for their questions and comments. And I also want to point out that you can find the recording of this session online. So please share it with colleagues that you think might be interested. And again, even though you can't exactly see it, please do check out the policy brief on a job guarantee for Europe, written by Aurore Lalucq and Pavlina Cherneeva. You can find it on our website. And please join us for the rest of the events of this breakfast series from FEPS over the next 2 weeks. And yes, we thank you again for your time today, and let's keep the conversation going.